ما زلنا مع حضراتكم وعلى شاشة المحور مستمرين في تغطية الأحداث والمتابعات في يعني عن قرب ومتابعة لكل ما يحدث في الشارع المصري من أحداث. الحقيقة هبدأ مع حضراتكم في تواجدي مع حضراتكم على الهواء مباشرة بشيء لفت نظري بشدة. الحقيقة كنا دائما ننظر لوكالات الأنباء العالمية وننظر للصحافة
channels and the international news or newspaper that we can listen to those that they are we can learn from them. But now we have all the most of the channels in Egypt. They are started to have translation and simultaneous interpretation, and it is have only a Mehwar plus, and on the 11488 H horizontal, but the and I think that's it. They can look at this frequency 11488 horizontal, and then all the people who are speaking English, they can follow us, so they can follow us on the frequency on 11488 again H horizontal. When we look at the international newspaper and the channels like CNN, Washington Post, and I think that's we can watch a lot of pictures which can take one side, and I think they didn't look for the accuracy, and I think that's through the Twitter, and you can look at the independent newspaper, which is the well-known English newspaper. You can find that one side in al-Fath newspaper. If we look at the Washington Post and also which in front of you, which has reporters every way, and for the whole pictures what happened yesterday, they only said that Egypt is already divided. Where is the divisions of Egypt? So I think so we are fighting against the terror groups who would like everything, otherwise they can burn all over of Egypt. So we have the independent, that's we can find one person in al-Fath mosque in Ramses Square, and they have only one pictures for the protesters, and they said they never refer to any violence from this terror group, and what's happened yesterday against the Al-Azbakia police station, and they try to attack it by different weapons and heavy weapons as well, and they are trying. They take only one picture. So when were you concerning what happened yesterday at 15 May bridge from the weapons which were used by the Muslim Brotherhood, and the violence which has already been made by the other people? And I think it is on Mehwar 2. I will repeat it again, the frequency on Mehwar 2 in English. So I think this channels has already only take one pictures on one side, and and they put also very old pictures, not modern one, for what happened yesterday.
من كل أنحاء
And
العالم
then
وتتحدث عن
we have to we
identity.
have to say that the Egyptian entity or identity is being divided into two.
المصطلح لدى المسلمين يعني عندنا الإثيوبيين
So we have only one Egyptian people.
إذا لم يكن نفسه
So
الشعب قهرا وعنفا
if they those terror Muslim Brotherhood who are armed and they have weapons, and if they wouldn't like to take anything, then they will burn the whole of Egypt.
بنصدم إن
And
هذه الوكالات
so we have been shocked by what has been raised at these newspapers and the channels which follow its own agenda, and I think their own agenda is playing a very suspicious role. And this is the three models which has been touched upon them, that like CNN, Washington Post, and the Independent. And so all the international news agency, should we ask the people in order to send their point of view, their pictures, their videotapes to them, and because those channels they give very fake and wrong pictures. I think they didn't read the Egyptian newspapers, so. And they said that we are not all suddenly have been not expressed on Egypt. For example, this Al-Watan news paper that Egypt in the whole of the fires of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a very clear picture for the armed elements of Muslim Brotherhood. Why they didn't look at those pictures of the reporters and they, for example, one of the journalists who spent here about 12 years, he told them, why you didn't take our pictures which we are already sent it to them. So as already translated but by at al-Watan newspaper, that is not a fake. So that is the Friday of weapons, blood and fire. That is in Shuruk newspaper. That's what we have already lived with yesterday, and I think that is the editor has already mentioned many details in different places. And there are different news. For example, in Al-Masri Al-Yom newspaper, that Egypt defy or fighting, that is a blood Friday, and the Muslim Brotherhood militia they are wandering in the Egyptian streets. Those terrorists, they are shoot the civilians and the citizens, and they raise the flags of Al-Qaeda in the square. So I have to wonder if this newspaper didn't represent the Muslim Brotherhood, that it means those fake pictures or what. So there are then At-Tahrir newspaper, that is the terror of Muslim Brotherhood and the killing Friday, or the Friday killings, that is organized attacks against the police stations and churches. So that is from the professional point of view of mass media, you should you should transfer the correct image and the correct pictures.
جميل. طبعا الصحفي الكبير والإعلامي الكبير
So we have, I think that is the editor-in-chief, that is a great journalist, that's Mr. Ibrahim Isa, who were accused before that he was Muslim Brotherhood, but when he was against Mubarak regime, and after that he was against the Muslim Brotherhood, and he has been jailed, but he is still persisted to write his own opinion. This is the different pictures which has been sent by the different reporters. This is also al-akhbar al-yawm, that is Egypt is burned by the Muslim Brotherhood fires. And I think that the editor-in-chief has been appointed, Mr. Sulaiman Qanawi has been appointed by during the period of the Muslim Brotherhood ruling. So that means they are adopting the Foster Dulles policy. If you are not with me, that means you are against me, or you are my enemy.
الأشياء بالنسبة لجريدة الوفد
We have to look at the Wafd newspaper. Its headlines said that the thugs fights the people. They are talking about the armed elements of terror, Muslim Brotherhood, and the militia of Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood as well. And I think the Egyptian people can also become very able to differentiate between what's wrong and what is right. And they show sympathy with the military forces and with the police forces. This is Al-Ahram national newspaper that is to abortion of the plans to burn all the police stations in Egypt. That is Cairo is a ghost city, and some bullets in the Muslim Brotherhood Friday anger. So we should hide and we should bury our heads in the sand like the ostriches, and to follow what is they have already said. And we started to cooperate with them, but they have decided if they will not take everything, they will break and they will destroy everything, and they will demolish, and they are seeking to push Egypt to a civil strife. You can find some shops can be destroyed. Why you have already burned the building of Arab contractors company? That is, I have watched such a building which while it's burning yesterday for hours. I mean, why those international newspapers and international channels didn't take from us? That is Al-Ahram al-Masai, or the afternoon Al-Ahram. And the editor-in-chief also has been appointed during the Muslim Brotherhood ruling time. So you have to follow your professional conscience, and you should avoid anything which contradict with the accuracy, which the reality. So we shouldn't. We should say that we have already feel of shock that the American and the British mass media, they are fabricating the news, and they give us fake pictures. So and they support one side against us, like what is already going on in CNN and the Washington Post. There were a deal in order to avoid all these events, but we couldn't declare such a deal. But they said that there were some American, Qatari, Emirati, and European representatives in order to have a compromise between the whole parties. But they have already deceived the Egyptian people. The Egyptian people have been deceived by those terror Muslim Brotherhood groups. So I have to say to the international newspaper and the channels, you have already stepped us down, and you have your own agenda, and every body, and you have to come back again to the righteousness. Now we have a live broadcast from Ramses Square, and that the security forces may secure the entrance of Al-Fath Mosque, but they are not allowed to the people to enter the mosque again. But they said some of the mass media channels said that there are some intrusion on the and the clashes on the mosques, but that not happen. But we have to ask who burned it, Rab'a mosque before they left it. I think the Muslim Brotherhood, and so we have to look at the different Twitters and Facebook, and I think there is a very intensive existence of the security forces. And we listen to Mr. Tamer Magdi. What is the new developments happened in Ramses Square? Because it is totally forbidden to any cars, but only for the ambulances.
Unfortunately, we came to know that there were some members of the Muslim Brotherhood inside the mosque. They don't want to open the doors. They refuse the negotiations with the security forces to have a safe exit. Probably one of the famous members of Muslim Brotherhood is with them, like Dr. Saad Amara, because some of our sources confirmed that Dr. Saad Amara is being inside with them. Now we have a medical delegation is talking with the Muslim Brotherhood members who are inside the mosque, but they are very frightened that they would be arrested by the police forces. So they have a kind of phobia, kind of panic. Concerning the march which came from Gamra district, it was faced by the citizens or the inhabitants of Ramses Square, and they prevented from coming to Ramses Square. The Al-Fath Mosque is a very big mosque, and it has different halls and different areas. Some of the the news say that maybe Mr. Mohammed al-Biltagi, one of the top wanted from the Muslim Brotherhood by the Egyptian authorities. Maybe he is inside the mosque in one of the hidden chambers of the mosque. Tell me about the traffic at the Ramses Square and the other streets. We have different popular commissions in this part maintaining order in Sabtiya district and in other districts and Gamhoria Street, Fagala Street, etc. So no one can come across these streets. The problem now is that the popular commissions think that everyone who comes to Ramses Square should be from the Muslim Brotherhood, so they prevent him from entering to Ramses Square. We have some persons who came out from the mosque who are negotiating with their companions to get them out of the mosque, and they give them full confidence that no problem, that they will not be arrested by the police, but the door is still closed and firmly closed, and the police, the security forces do not like to attack this gate to avoid having victims from this attack. But they are negotiating with the medical delegation, this medical delegation from the ambulance, which is inside to attend to the different wounded people inside the mosque. But the problem that they insist not to get out of the mosque to avoid being arrested by the police or by the military forces. So tell me about this idea. If there is a possibility to have more dead bodies or wounded persons, so what is the possibility to find out more dead bodies inside the mosque? Because you have mentioned that they are afraid, they do not like to get outside, and the police forces don't want to attack by force to avoid having more victims. We may, concerning this question, we may have this possibility to have more dead bodies, because this hall where the Muslim Brotherhood are enclosed is the biggest one, is the largest hall amongst all the halls of the Al-Fath Mosque. Yesterday the Muslim Brotherhood told the different news agencies and TV channels that there were more than 100 dead bodies inside the mosque, but this is a big lie. We have here some doctors from ambulance and from the different hospitals who came to help, but as I said, they are very they have a big panic from the presence of police forces or military forces. Concerning the media and news agencies, today a lot of photos came from Al-Fath Mosque, etc., from some from the foreigners, from the foreign agencies, because you've mentioned before that they only trust the foreign agency news. I don't know if they still have some of the foreign reporters or not. So I would like to drag the attention of all the Egyptian citizens to treat well and to allow the foreign reporters to move freely in Cairo, because the foreign reporters have the impression that they are not allowed to have accessibility in different areas because of the police forces, as they think that they prevent them, or the popular commissions, etc., etc. We know that Al Jazeera is still inside this hole and outside, and the people are looking for the cameras of Al Jazeera to prevent them from photographing or from documenting the situation. We know that the Al Jazeera is playing only photos or video clips from the different events, but the Al Jazeera is being considered all privileged by the Muslim Brotherhood. So we came to have news that there are some of the foreign reporters, like Al Jazeera reporters, inside this hall. This is right, Tamir, that a lot of incorrect and unreal news, like the trucks shocking people yesterday, as some of the TV channels claimed. But we need to know what about the al-Dhuhr, or the second prayer of inside the mosque. I think that the second prayer will not be presented by the normal people or normal citizen of those who live in Ramses district, because the gate is still closed. So I think that the al-Dhuhr prayer will not be held inside the mosque for the citizens of the district. Only those of the Muslim Brotherhood who are inside the mosque, they occupy the big and the large hall of Al-Fatih Mosque. Is there any march of Muslim Brotherhood coming from any other district, or this intensive presence of the police forces would not allow any other march or any other gathering to join the Muslim Brotherhood? After the arrival of this morning march, there was some gathering downtown, 2 kilometers from Ramses Square, and 2 kilometers from the north of Cairo, and a lot of people were arrested by the citizens or the popular commissions of Ramses Square. And this the problem now, that there is a kind of violence from the members of the popular commissions against all those who have the appearance of a Muslim Brotherhood, any man with beard, etc. So, but if the supporters of the pro-Morsi supporters would come to the area within marches, or to save their own colleagues, that would make a lot of problem. And that's why you have a lot of trucks of police forces, and a lot of police forces are still coming to Ramses district. Okay, Magdi, thank you very much for your reporting, and we will follow you back later. So the march, the big by force. Now, Mr. Khalaf, our colleague, our reporter in the province of Beni Suef, 120 kilometers south from Cairo. They still have clashes today. Now, yesterday, first time having military forces in Beni Suef, and the military forces were welcomed by the people of Beni Suef, especially on the Nile Avenue. The forces started working once they arrived at the streets of the downtown, and they controlled a lot of the pro-Morsi protesters who violated the curfew hours. So the military forces started shutting, and the gatherings of Muslim Brotherhood were dispersed. There are some good news for the concerning the police. That the police who control the city accompanied the military forces inside the city, because it is the first time to have military forces in these provinces. So they didn't know the details of the map of the city, how to move inside this small city. But anyhow, the military forces sent a message to all people and to respect the curfew. Even they shot some bullets to the air to warn all the gatherings of the pro-Morsi supporters. There were about 20,000 supporters, but there was no clash. They didn't destroy houses or shops, etc. So I would say, generally speaking, that the yesterday was a quiet day for us, and it is gone without problems. Do you have in Beni Suef any of the top wanted leaders of Muslim Brotherhood members, or for police investigation, or for trials, etc.? Even those who are from the Beni Suef, there were some members who are wanted now for trial. No. Here we have only some leaders who come to manage the demonstrations and the sit-ins. They are not hidden, because over the last month there was no police presence. During 2 successive days, no police forces all over the city, all over the province. So when the military forces started shooting bullets to the air, all of them they have been frightened, and they ran away. But I think they would have a trial, because a lot of them burned the family court and the traffic departments. They are the only responsible for these incidents. The court building was completely collapsed after having burned this monumental building by the Muslim Brotherhood supporters. Now to our big and famous journalist, Mr. Makram Muhammad Ahmed. How do you see the situation now in Egypt, Mr. Makram Muhammad Ahmed? I think that yesterday and the day before, the Muslim Brotherhood imagined that they could invest the crackdown, the professional crackdown, and to make use of this crackdown to terrify all the Egyptian people and to break up the police forces. There were a lot of incidents, but the conclusion that they couldn't break up the police is still standing, facing them, cutting ways, etc. The second point, that the Egyptian people is number one facing the Muslim Brotherhood. Now the Muslim Brotherhood are facing the Egyptian people. The third point, everybody now knows that the Muslim Brotherhood is an armed group, and that they represent a terrorist group. And maybe what happened yesterday over the 15th May bridge when we've seen some pictures and some images shooting towards balcons, etc., and the disaster when they tried to attack the Azbakiya police station. I think it was the climax of their own drama. They are killers. They are just killers. They are terrifying people, and they made people in some districts preventing them from coming in, and they are running after them. That's right, Mr. Makram, because one of our reporters said that the people now, when they see somebody with a beard, so they suspect that he could be from the Muslim Brotherhood. My question is, what is your what do you say about the Saudi Arabian statement? Yes, this is very important. The Security Council before yesterday failed to condemn Egypt, etc. This kind of description used by the Security Council concerning the resigning of Dr. Muhammad al-Baradi, etc. All that, I think, that washed away by the statement of the Saudi Arabian king. This statement was very nice, and it came in its right moment. This statement opened door to evaluate and to reevaluate our relationship with other countries. Saudi Arabia is a very strong party. It has its own tools. It has its own high voice all over the world, and it's one of the most important members at the international club, and they have their own impact over Europe or United States. And when the king of Saudi Arabia said that Egypt is facing destruction, facing terror, and that Saudi Arabia is fully supporting the Egyptian people and all those who like to interfere in the Egyptian affairs should stop it. And they gave a clear message to the American President Barack Obama about his attempts to interfere in the Egyptian affairs. But we should be very cautious, but because the first session in Security Council did not succeed. No, but maybe they can do it later on. So I'm asking you, as one of our big journalists, the Washington Post, it's the big title say that Egypt is polarized, is divided, and subtitle, I'm talking about the electronic edition. The United States was about to have a deal to avoid this crisis. And inside this subtitle, the photo of Dr. Muhammad Baradi and some members of these deals. The Washington Post, the Independent, is taking the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. We don't know if they do not see what we are seeing on the ground, what they are making. I know that the Western media is not standing beside Egypt. They are hiding facts. The settings of rabab or Nahda, the places which converted to be stores for weapons and to complicate the traffic situation in Cairo, etc. They ignore all of that. They ignore all the terror that people were suffering. Over the 6th of October bridge, a lot of armed persons from the Muslim Brotherhood group with their automatic guns, with their revolvers, etc., shooting randomly. All the American papers, all the Western papers ignored all the fire that we've seen in different parts of Cairo, and the terrible crime committed in the police station of Kirdassa city. They are biased, they are not neutral, and this is not professional. Thank you very much, Mr. Makam Muhammad Ahmad. And now our reporter, Dr. Mr. Yusuf Qaid, one of the biggest writers in Egypt.
You have already mentioned that through the international or the Western mass media, we have to reply to them because there is a current in the Egyptian society. They are pro-Muslim Brotherhood and another against them, but we can calculate the whole Egyptian population about 88 millions, and they can already have those terror Muslim Brotherhood. They are trying to burn the whole of Egypt, and they have some thugs on the street, children's, and but Egypt is not divided anymore, and Egypt has already chose already its own way since 30 of June. But there are some people who are trying to curb and to curb Egypt and try to put obstacles in front of the Egyptian march. And then we have to send them messages to Israel and to USA and to the European Union, who are supporting the terror Muslim Brotherhood, that to set them that they have already lost their credibility. So the momentum of the Egyptian mass media, because we know that the international media, they are involved into each particles of Egypt, but they are already supporting one side against the other. But there are many attempts which can be followed by the Egyptian mass media in order to follow. I think that's Obama and the others. They didn't mention anything, but I have to appreciate the role which is being played by al-Mehwar, by CBC, by al-Nahar, by on TV, but and etc. And also the other translated channels like the on TV should be publicized and generalized, and so we can ask Mr. Hassan Ratib and Mr. Muhammad Al-Amin and to have already English live broadcast. So we are now organize some demonstrations against the terror Muslim Brotherhood, and we will not declare about its place, and we will distribute statements about the great roles is being played by the military forces, by the security forces, by the Egyptian people, by the Egyptian government, and all the categories of the Egyptian society, and all the civil society organizations and trade unions and different and syndicates. So we have to look at the Egyptian education, because they are the Muslim Brotherhood, they are trying to polarize those the poorest categories of the Egyptian people in order to be supporting them. So you can send any reporter to Ramses Square, to any other places in Egypt, but you can find that is a live broadcast is more explicitly and more expressed than any hundreds of essays can be written. And I think that is Egyptian people have many categories, but they are anti they are anti the fake and incorrected incorrected information which has been marketing by the international mass media. But we have to have documents and also I asking upon all the to have a documentary films, to have all the Muslim Brotherhood with the weapons, and then we can show it to the whole world. The size of violence is going on from this terror Muslim Brotherhood. And I think this is the great battle after 1973. We thank you, Mr. Yusuf Al-Qaid, the biggest writer. So I have to say that the al-Mehwar 2 is already translated also, and they have a simultaneous interpretation with watch the English podcast frequency on 11488 horizontal. So in order to make our voice to be reachable to all the people who can understand the English language. So you have some colleagues, you have some relatives in USA and the European Unions, and then so they have to show to them those terror groups. They are armed with different weapons, and they said if we are not win the elections, if we will not take anything, we will burn the whole of Egypt. And I think that is now the Egyptian people starts to discard those terror Muslim Brotherhood, and so they said that if we will not take anything, we will burn Egypt. So we come back again to Ramses Square currently. So we listen to our reporter from there, Mr. Tamar Magdi. I think we can find there are already the elements of the Muslim Brotherhood have already left, and the military forces take the women of the Muslim Brotherhood and provide them with means of transport in order to reach their homes. And also they secured their to go outside the mosque in order to avoid any clashes between them and between the inhabitants. But I mean, one of the leaders have been arrested. One of the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood have been arrested, but they haven't declared who is this person who has been arrested by the military forces. But there are big demonstrations are coming from Gamra district, and that's why the military tanks have already moved in order to prevent them to come to Ramses Square, and they are trying to discuss with them and to try to convince them to go outside in a peaceful way. and they are trying to search all the places around the mosques and to evacuate
بالنسبة
the whole holes
حالته ايه
in
دلوقتي؟
the mosque. So the adjoining places is fully crowded by the inhabitants. We can find that hundreds of the inhabitants are around the mosque, in addition to the military forces and police forces as well, and they are trying to secure everything. And over the 6th October bridge and the 15th of May bridge as well, and in Fagala district there were yesterday some clashes. So show it to us, Tamer, if it is already quiet and in this district or not. Unfortunately, this area they didn't come back again to its previous situations, because it was dedicated to sell all the health things over there, and of the ceramics and the others, and the street vendors who were there up to Abbasiyah Square and El Gesh Street. There were, I didn't find any signs for attacking the shops or anything. But yesterday they have already destroyed some cars which belong to the citizens.
أنا بشكر زميلنا
We
تامر
thank
مجدي
you very
من
much, Mr. Tamer Magdi, in front of Al Fath Mosque from Ramses Square, and there are some people are still there, and one of the Muslim Brotherhood leader have been arrested by the military forces, but they didn't declare who his name. And the military police has already arrested many of them, and there were 5 persons who has shotguns and some bullets with them. In Sinai, and we have one of the Muslim Brotherhood leaders. He said that once you release Muhammad Morsi, then the violence in Sinai will be stopped. So we have our reporter from northern Sinai, Hatem al-Bolok. So what is the situation in northern Sinai? It is a very cautious situation, because they have already the Muslim Brotherhood has already shot down some of the civilians and the military forces as well. And that is since the curfew have been implemented in northern Sinai, they are trying to concentrate and to attack the governmental buildings like the insurance, whatever, and the armed elements try to make weapon. They are with the RPG on the building of the fire brigade. It was in at the heart of El Gesh Street in Al Arish city in Sinai.
نهب المطافي ونهب محتويات
and they have
مبنى
already
الشؤون الاجتماعية ومبنى
they are
مجاورة
trying
المطافي
they attacked
أمنة،
the insurance
ونهب
building
المحلات المجاورة،
and
الحضانات
to
الموجودة
steal all the
بالمواطنين، تابعة
belongings
للشؤون
of the
الاجتماعية.
fire
وأيضا
brigade and
هي
the
حدث
social
عملية نهب
insurance,
كثيرة، عمليات سرقات لعربيات الشرطة، حتى
and
سيارات المطافي
they
من
there were a
السرقة
lot
ومن
of robberies for
سيارات
them.
الإسعاف. أيضا كانت ليلة دمية بالأمس.
So it was a
مع
very
الأسف
a lot
أستاذ
of
حازم. طب
bloods
الهدوء يعني اسمح لي
in
بس أوصف
northern
الصورة اللي
Sinai
موجودة أمامنا. واضح
yesterday.
إن في مسيرات موجودة
There
الآن
are
في
some
منطقة
demonstrations
رمسيس
in
أعتقد،
Ramses
والأمن
Square,
بيحاول إن هو
and the
يفض ما بين
security
أهالي
forces try
المنطقة
um,
تمام.
وإحدى
differentiate
السيدات اللي بيطلبوا
between
بحراسة الشرطة واضح إن هم
to
عليها
differentiate
سجن، أو
between
يعني ممكن يكونوا كان
the
خبر إن هي
supporters and
إحداث.
the Muslim Brotherhood
وده نقلا
supporters
من
as well.
التلفزيون المصري الحقيقة اللي
So
بيعمل
this
تغطية
is
شديدة
we
الاحترام
can
وفي حظر التواجد
transfer
فيها. الحدث
from
كان إن هم
the
بتسرق
Egyptian
من أدواتهم.
Egyptian
والصورة
TV,
أمامنا بعض من المنتقبات خارجين
and there
مسجد الفتح،
are
لكن الأهالي
some
واضح إن هم كانوا مستعدين
women in veils,
للفتك بيهم أو الاشتباك
and
معهم، لكن قوات
but
الشرطة
the
العسكرية
citizens
حاولت
try
إن هم
to
يأمنوا
attack
خروجهم
them. That's
لحين
why the
بقى
military
حدوث أي
forces
شيء
and the
كان
security
لازم
forces try to
يحموا
secure
خروجهم. أستاذ حازم،
them
أنا
and to
بتكلم بقى
protect their
دلوقتي، هل
going
الوضع
outside.
الجيش
So
اللي
the
موجود الآن في
situation
المنطقة، وكان في كلام على تمشيط
now
واضح للمنطقة من العناصر الجهادية. تصورك
in
بالنسبة
northern
الآن هل تم يعني
northern
التنشيط بنسبة كبيرة
Sinai.
ولا ما زالت هناك
So
هذه
they are
العناصر
the military
برضه
forces
محتمية؟
they are still
لا بالفعل هو الجيش يسيطر، ولكن في خارج
they are still
المدينة الجيش
controlling
يسيطر على
everything.
الحدود،
I think
وفي
that's
تواجد
the
في
armed
المناطق
forces. They
الحدودية،
are
ولكن
controlling
في
everything in
مناطق
Sheikh
داخل
Zouayed, the
المدن
city,
ليست هناك سيطرة
and
كافية،
but
لأن
there is
المسلحين
no
هم في
enough
داخل المدينة وهم
control
يهاجمون
on
بالمدى.
this
أما في النهار
area,
فيسود هدوء حذر، لا
and
تحدث أي
there
مشاكل.
is
هم
a
يهاجمون في
cautious
الليل ويهاجمون في المدينة.
calm.
الجيش منتشر في المحاور
But I think
الرئيسية وفي
I can
المدارس
assure to you, God
وفي
self,
الطرق
that
الرئيسية وعلى
all of the
الحدود.
people,
الجيش مسيطر على سيناء،
that is
ولكن العمليات تحدث
the
في داخل الكثافة السكانية
military
هل ما زال
forces
التعاون قائم ما بين
controlling
القبائل
everything
المختلفة
right now,
والمتواجدين في
and
داخل
there are
المحافظة
some clashes
لمحاولة
between
إن
the
هم القبض
tribes,
على العناصر الخارجة اللي
and
موجودة
they are trying to
وبتحاول إن هي
arrest
تعمل
those
بلبلة، وهي اللي
armed
عندها هذه الأسلحة الثقيلة اللي موجودة في
elements
المحافظة؟
which are using
بالفعل أنت
the heavy
تعلمين أستاذ عمر
weapons.
أن القبائل العربية في سيناء
So the
والقبائل
Arab
الصهيونية
tribes
ومتواجدة
in
وحول الجيش
Sinai, they are
وهناك
very
تعاون كامل
connected strongly with the
بين الأهالي وبين أهالي
Egyptian
سيناء والجيش
armed
والشرطة،
forces.
ولكن المسلحين هم جماعات
But
وجماعات
those
منضبطة
armed
وجماعات مسلحة،
forces,
ولكن
those armed forces of the
الأهالي
Muslim Brotherhood,
يجب أن يتعاونون مع
they are
الجيش ومع
using
الشرطة
heavy
ومع
weapons
الشرطة.
in order
نعم، شكرا أستاذ حازم.
to make
سيناء.
terror. But there is a very good
الأخبار إن
rapport of cooperation and
يعني
coordination
توترت
between
الآن إن
the
هيكون في
tribes
تأجيل
and the
لمحاكمة
military
القرن في
forces. I
تأجيلات
think
بالنسبة
there is
لفترتها
a
الحالية
postponing of
ل25
the century trial
أغسطس
of
2013.
Mubarak
وكان في طبعا
and
محاكمة
and his
المهدي
assistants,
وإحضار مبارك والعدل نتيجة للأحداث
and
الحالية،
that's due to
وأيضا
the current
الجمهورية
situations.
يؤكد
Then
إن
that is
الاحتجاجات والمظاهرات حرام
the
قطعاً
Egyptian
أي
Mufti
باطل،
says already
أتواصل مع
that is to
على
be
شاشة
armed
الأخبار.
during the demonstrations and the marches that is against the religion.